Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. So before we begin, let me introduce myself first. My name is Fanny Amalia Putri. My student number is 180-110-301-0069. So in this video presentation, I would like to perform and explain more about the analysis of financial statement in Garuda Indonesia. So here we are. The guideline of the presentation that I will discuss. So first is company brief profile. So I will explain more the Garuda Indonesia profile and history, and second is company brief current condition. So how Garuda Indonesia facing pandemic issues, and the third is analysis of financial statement in Garuda Indonesia. So I will use some relevant method to analyze Garuda Indonesia financial statement, and the last is conclusion. So the overall financial analysis conclusion about the Garuda Indonesia performance. So here brief profile of Garuda Indonesia. So as we know that Garuda Indonesia is one of the largest aviation companies in Indonesia, and Garuda Indonesia was established and started to operate as Indonesia Airways on 26th of January 1949 and as Garuda Indonesia Airways on 28th of December 1949. And Garuda Indonesia has a total of 22 international and 48 of domestic destinations, with Garuda Indonesia direct flight to 12 countries. And Garuda Indonesia won the award as the best regional airline in the world given by Skytrax. So the company brief current condition. So PT Garuda Indonesia was devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic, starting from the existence of COVID-19, the PSBB implementation, and new normal condition, but the company has a decrease in capacity to adapt the current demand trend. And as of August 2020, there has been a decrease in the traffic carried by the company for both passengers and the cargo, 72% and 50% respectively, compared to the last year, and also has a decrease in domestic production by 55% and international by 88%. And about 146 employees were laid off, and around 5,989 others were cut wages and others, and almost 800 employees of Garuda Indonesia with a status contract or specific time work agreement are housed temporarily. And Garuda Indonesia has prepared various strategies to maintain and improve the company's financial performance in these bad conditions. The company controls all aspects, such as financial aspects and the operational aspects. So, how Garuda Indonesia facing that issues? So, with a significant reduction in traffic, an operational strategy in Garuda Indonesia is needed to anticipate the decline in demand from scheduled flight through efficiency initiative and optimization of the charter cargo business lines. And in maintaining liquidity and responding to the current impact of COVID-19, the company has made efforts to optimize operations in order to align supply with the market demand through several initiatives. And now, Garuda Indonesia will still continue the operation. Garuda Indonesia has been taking anticipatory steps and apply related measures in order to provide the comfort and safety of its passengers, while complying with the Indonesian government's policies in response to COVID-19 pandemic related to flying document requirements, reschedule policy, and the operating route schedule adjustment. And in Indonesia Leadership Development Camp on 21st of November 2020, they invited Irfan Setiaputra, who is the CEO of Garuda Indonesia. He will say that after the pandemic comes, the airplane were very quiet in operation. And in this situation, it requires a transformational leadership to ensure survival after the this COVID-19 pandemic has passed. And for the analysis of financial statement in Garuda Indonesia, so there are several methods that we use to analyze analysis of financial statement in Garuda Indonesia. So there are a horizontal and vertical analysis, ratio analysis, working capital analysis, and the cash analysis. So horizontal and vertical analysis. Horizontal analysis is individuals conduct comparative financial statement analysis by reviewing consecutive balance sheets, income statements, or statement of cash flows from period to period. So it means that this analysis is comparing the changes of statement on year-to-year or multi-year basis. And for the vertical analysis is known as common size statement. It's a kind of financial statement analysis wherein each item in the financial statement is shown in the percentage of the base figure. And in this horizontal analysis and vertical analysis, I use the Garuda Indonesia financial statement on the third quartal, which is on the September 2020, because I want to do some little bit evaluation on financial statement where it occurred when the pandemic comes and we compare it to the previous year. So the result will be. So here we are, comparative balance sheet. So I already calculated in the Excel before. So from the horizontal analysis on the balance sheet, in the asset section, the result that we got are, first is there is a decrease in total current assets by 63% from the previous year. And there is an increase in total non-current assets by 277% from the previous year. And for the total assets, it's increased by 222%, which was the difference from the current and previous year was almost $5 billion US dollar. Next, for the liability and equity section, you can see the result that we got is there is an increase in total current liabilities by 144% from the previous year. And non-current liabilities, there is a huge increase by 1,188%. And for the total liabilities, there is an increase by 277%. And for the total equity, there is a decrease by 63%. And for the last is total liability and equity, there is an increase by 222%. And for the comparative income statement, so we got the result that, so we can see the table below, and for the sales and cost, sales have decreased from the previous year as much 32% and 66% respectively, and sales is less than the cost of sales, and because of that the total gross profit got minus, which was 700 billion, and the amount changes from the previous year was minus 116%. And for the total profit and total comprehensive income have deficit, which was the percentage of changes lost is minus 899% and minus 608%. It's quite huge for the deficit, right? And the result of the final income indicates that the income in the company cannot cover the costs that happened in that period due to deficit income. So in the pandemic, because the impact of the pandemic right now, it makes that so big, huge in the Garuda at this time. And next is vertical analysis balance sheet. So from the vertical analysis on the balance sheet, on the asset section, we got the result is there is a huge decrease in total current assets from 7.21% to 25%. due to a significant decrease in cash and deposits. Meanwhile, non-current assets increased from 75% to 92% due to a significant value in property, plant, and equipment. And for the liability and equity section, the result is the total current liability was decreased from 73% to 47.4%. Meanwhile, the total non-current liability was increased from 11% to 57.2%. And for the total liability was increased from 84% to 146%. And there is a huge decrease in total equity. The differences is from 16% to minus 4.6%. So it's very huge decrease in total equity. And for the vertical analysis in income statement, so we can see the result. So from the table below, we can see the cost of sales has deficit and the minus amount is bigger than the sales. So because of that, the total gross profit still got minus values and cannot cover the sales and cannot cover the cost of sales. And income before tax also decreased due to extraordinary losses that were bigger than the previous year, so it cannot cover it again. And for the total profit and total comprehensive income got deficit too. What result of the final income indicate that the income in the company cannot cover the cost that happened in that period due to no or deficit income. Yeah, because this pandemic again, so many deficit income, no income, so it cannot cover all the costs in that happened in the company. So here we talk about ratio analysis in Garuda Indonesia. So I use financial ratio in Garuda Indonesia in 2019 because there is some data that I can't found in 2020. So in annual report in 2019, I found this financial ratio. So I will classify some financial ratio in here to several ratio. So first is liquidity ratio. So liquidity ratio is the ability of the company to cover short-term obligation and cash flows. And for the liquidity ratio in the Garuda Indonesia, we can find the cash ratio and current ratio. So cash ratio in Garuda Indonesia in 2019 was 9.36%. That is an increase of 1.8 percentage compared to the 2018, which was 8.29%. This was due to the increase in cash amount, particularly restricted cash by $5 million, and the increase was due to the increase in SPLC facilities. That is, SPLC of facilities is signed by letter on credit. Increase in SPLC owned by the company, which is the company's strategy to improve the liquidity level. And for the current ratio in Indonesia in 2019 was 34.81%, a decrease of 0.47 percentage point compared to the 2018, which was 35.28%. This was due to the increase of current liabilities by 6.42% or $169 million. So the largest increase in current liabilities come from the related party trade payables, and current maturities of long-term loans. So, profitability ratio. The definition itself is the ability of the company to generate income relative to its revenue, like operating costs, balance sheet, assets, or shareholder equity. And in this table, we can see there is some profitability ratio you can find, and like return on asset, return on equity, operating profit margin, net profit margin, and EBITDA. It means that earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So first is return on asset. Return on asset in 2019 it was 0.14%, an increase compared to that 2018, which was minus 5.51%. The increase came from the net profit in 2019, which increased by 235 million US dollar. And for the return on equity in 2019 was 0.90%. That is an increase compared to that 2018, which was 35.77%. This was derived from the net profit in 2019, which increased 6 million US dollar, and equity 2019, which almost more than 700 US dollar, and an increase of 12.63% compared to that 2018, which 639 million US dollar. And for the operating profit margin in 2019 was 3.32%. It's an increase compared to the previous year, which was minus 4.60%. This was due to the increase in net profit in 2019. And for the net profit margin in 2019 was 0.14%. That is an increase compared to the 2018. And for the EBITDA margin in 2019 was 7.19%. That is an increase compared to the previous year. And next is solvency ratio. Solvency ratio, the definition itself is same to the liquidity ratio, which was the ability to pay debt, but the solvency focuses on the ability to pay the long-term debts. So in here, the table, you can see there is two kinds of the solvency ratio. First is debt to equity ratio. Debt equity ratio in 2019 was 2.55 times, an improvement of 0.49 times compared to the last year, 2018, which was 3.4 times. This is because the decrease in financial debt of 110 million US dollar, which was mainly due to long-term loans and factoring liabilities. And second is debt to assets ratio. In 2019 was 41.25%. That is a decrease than the last year in 2018, which was 46.88%. This is because the decrease in financial debts, same as in the debt equity ratio before, while total assets increased by 7.22%. So here we are working capital analysis in Garuda Indonesia. Working capital analysis is typically means that the firm's holding of current or short-term assets such as cash, receivable, inventory, and marketable securities. So here we are, the working capital analysis that I got so far. I will focus on the current asset and inventory. So here we are, current assets in the Garuda Indonesia. So as we can see in the table that I put it in the presentation. So in here we can indicate that in 2019 we got the bigger amount of the current assets than the 2018. And but in 2020, in the third quartal that I got, the data that I got, so far. So it's less than the previous year. It because the current pandemic that happened now. So the current assets is less than the previous year. And for the inventories, you can see, so in 2019, it's better than 2018. But in 2020 again, it's less than from the previous year. So it means that it's not really, it's it's quite not good, and it's going down. The current inventory that happened in this pandemic. And for the cash analysis, so in Garuda Indonesia, the movement cash, so I divided in three activities. That movement of cash is the first is operating activities, investing activities, and last is financing activities. So in the operating activities, you can see in the diagram that I put below. So here you can see for 2019, it's quite good. The performance going high than the 2018. For the investing activity, it's not quite good because the minus it's bigger than the previous year in 2019. And for the financing activity in 2018, it's quite good, better. It's better than in 2019 because it got the minus one. So that's all for the analysis that we got so far. Okay, so for the conclusion, we got so far is from the horizontal and vertical analysis in the balance sheet, we can find that although there are so many accounts that decreased from the previous year, it still can be covered by several accounts like non-current assets and liabilities. And from horizontal and vertical analysis in the income statement, there the decrease from the amount from previous year cannot be covered by other accounts, so the final income got deficit. And for the overall financial ratio that company have in 2019, it's quite good than 2018. For the liquidity, overall in 2019, it's quite good, indicate that company cover all short-term obligations. And for profitability in 2019 is very good, indicate that company can generate their income well. And for the solvency, it's quite good too, because several company debt has decreased than in 2018. And I'm sorry, in the financial ratio, I not get the in 2020 because there are several accounts that I can found in the income statement in the third quarter. So I used the 2019. Actually, I have found several data, but there's so many account that I can find. So I thought that maybe it's better to calculate in 2019 first. And for the working capital analysis in 2019, in current assets and inventory are good compared to 2018. But if we can compare to 2020, the assets and inventories is not really good. And for the cash analysis in 2019 has a good performance than in 2018. So that's all for me. Thank you very much. Sorry if there is a mistaken word that I used or in the video presentation. Okay, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.